You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and John.
Good morning and welcome to Guitar Talk. It's John Bingham.
And Dave Levine.
Boy,
So
I'll
how
tell
was
you-
the weekend? You had a couple of big gigs this weekend.
Yeah. The first one was a disaster. As far as I'm concerned, the crowd seemed to dig it, and I don't think anybody knew any different. But the second one was crazy good, really, really, really good.
Awesome.
So,
I saw pictures from the second one. You posted some.
yeah,
some
I've got some video footage coming. The mix is everything. When you're live, the mix is everything.
Yeah.
And I've seen some humorous videos about sound guys all being grumpy or whatever the case may be. We hit the prize on Friday night. This dude was so grumpy. He didn't want to be there.
Right.
At all. And I get it. I imagine if you're a sound guy, your life is the best you can expect if you're a sound guy is for people to be like, it'll work.
Right. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, nobody's going to be like, whoa, you make us sound so good. Nobody ever does that. Everybody's like, can I get a little more vocal in my monitor?
Right.
Dude, I need some more vocal. Can you drop some of the mids out of my voice? Oh, I need some bass. Yeah, that's all you can do. Yeah, that's fine. It'll work. Talk about a loveless,
Right.
or not loveless. That's the wrong word, but you're lacking appreciation if you're doing that job.
Yeah, and most of these sound guys always seem to act, well, I should say most and always. 60% of the time, they work all the time. No, like most of the time, they're just bitter and don't want to be there, and that's never fun.
Right.
That's never fun. And they don't like people telling them what they like. It's like, yeah, I don't really like that sound. Yeah, great. It's a thankless job. But the other thing is it's like sometimes you don't hear what it sounds like out there, and sometimes it can be good, and sometimes you think it's sounding great, and then you get off stage and you start talking to people, and they're like, yeah, it was really bassy. It's like, oh, shit, it sounded fantastic up on stage.
That's funny.
So it works both ways.
From what I understand, it was the opposite this weekend. Everybody said, you guys sounded great. It was hilarious. It was a great show. On stage, I could hear Elvis's voice in my in-ears, and I could hear my guitar through a monitor that was somewhere right of me on stage.
Oh, that's funny.
So the way the stage was plotted, right in front of me, I had a monitor, and I had another monitor. But this monitor here was kicked this way, so it was shooting away from me.
Yeah.
And the sound guy was immediately to my left because I was on the far left of the stage, and that's where the monitor mixer was. And so I tell the guy, like, I've got no guitar in my in-ears. And he was like, oh, okay, I got you. And then I'd hear the guitar come up, and it would be on a monitor way over on the other side of the stage. I'd be like, no, that's not it. My ears, I've got nothing. No problem. I got you covered. And then it would be like the one that's facing away from me. And so the whole night with this guy telling me, I gotcha, it would just be my guitar coming in somewhere else other than my ears, other than the monitor that was in front of me. So the whole night I was relying on basically, I had a click track that was in my ears. I had the singing voice in my ears, and I had my guitar when I scooted 5 feet over, I could hear my own guitar.
Right.
But nothing else made it in the mix. It was like
awful.
Oh, dude, I've never played a show like that before. It was unreal.
Yeah.
And then
but the House of Blues one was good, huh?
Dude, consummate professionalism. Those guys were on point.
Yeah.
For people out there who's saying just do it old school or whatever, this is a 12-piece band on stage. Yeah. There's horns, there's singers, there's all kinds of production going into this, so it's not as easy as like a 4-piece. We do need a mix in order to kind of know where some of the stabs and some of the real tight cues are. If we don't have that, it does get sloppy. There's just too much going on. The House of Blues mix was perfect. The in-ear mix was what we wanted. The stage mix was great. Everybody in the crowd was good.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude. I tell you how many people we
crowd,
played for.
How was the crowd?
Dude, 1,200 plus.
Wow.
Biggest show I've ever been in.
That's awesome.
Used to playing bars or whatever.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah. I had a bar gig on Saturday that was busy for that bar. In fact, the bar was like packed. People were just in there like sardines. And we got through it. How was the gig? Yeah, we made it.
Right.
I think we started off the gig saying we're going to play some songs we know and a few that we don't. But no, it worked out fine. It worked out great. I brought my 17th Strat with me, and that thing,
nice.
And that thing was great. I mean, no tuning issues, no. It was just, it worked solid all night. The tones were there. Nothing on my board. Last gig, I felt like I was having a wire problem, and then I just swapped out 2 wires, and now everything was working great.
Now, for those of you who don't know, 17th Street was a guitar company that Dave ran.
Yep.
About 10 years ago?
About 14 years ago, about 2003, 2000, well, maybe 2004, 2005. And we put it to rest 2006. Because if you remember, 2007, I went to RKS for a little while. Right. But yeah, Carruthers was the builder, basically. I've actually modified my guitar to be more of what I would have wanted it to be had I had more say, which is I would have rather had a V-neck, which we had talked about in the past, and he made it like this really thick D-neck. So I was able to shave it down into a V. And I had stainless frets put in it because I feel like that's important. He doesn't want to deal with that. You know, there's a lot of guys in the business that become crusty and feel like, people will buy it anyway. Or, you know, it's like they don't understand. I will say, and you were friendly with him too, Gary Kramer was one of the few guys who really got it, that the details of the instrument is really what separates the men from the boys. And if you remember, like, he had that Crusader, the American, and he had that the cross, the iron cross into the neck plate, and just all the details he put into it was like, this is an expensive instrument.
Right.
And I always still think the coolest Strat he ever made was he had a Strat wrapped in that really soft leather, and then used a pick guard made out of the Jaguar dashboard wood.
Right.
And I remember that. Everything was like an automobile. It was unbelievable. I mean, that was like, he was just really, Gary Kramer, if more people in the business thought like he did about the details, I think then people wouldn't mind paying, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 for a John Suhr. But the way those guitars come out now, it's like, well, it's a Strat. It's a nicely made Strat, but I don't see the ticket price in it. You know what I mean? I think G&L is one of the few that make the Fender style guitars at a price point. The feel of a custom shop at a price point that is worth the value of that guitar without feeling like you're overpaying.
Right.
I think G&L does that well. But yeah, so that was our goal. But you know, we had our issues and whatnot. But yeah, so this guitar performed great for me. I loved what it did, and yeah, it was
what
great.
Pickups are you using in that thing these days?
So I have in the humbucker, it's a hum single, and I have a Fred in the humbucker position. That's a DiMarzio Fred DP 153 F for those who really want to get anal about it, because it's Fender spaced. And by the way, F means Fender spaced. It does not mean Floyd spaced, for people out there that don't know. That basically there's 2 types of spacing, Fender and Gibson. So the non-F would be Gibson spaced and DiMarzio, and the F is Fender spaced. So the F spaced Fred, and then I have 2 Area 58s, also DiMarzio, which is a pickup I know you like.
Yeah. Yep, I use that in one of mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great, great. I love the tone of that guitar. It's just awesome.
Yeah, the 58 is great in the neck and the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it away from the bridge.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In fact, when
Pro 54 Pro, that's the one in the bridge.
Yep.
You called that. I had a Area 61 in the bridge of my Strat, and it was too bright, and I wasn't a fan. I kept it in there for about a year, and it just like everything I plugged it into was like the disparity between the brightness of a typical humbucker and any of my humbucker guitars, and then I'd plug that Strat in, because bridge position's unusable.
Right.
I can't use it.
And let's talk about that for a second, because I did that by educated guess first. So, because people don't realize. So what happened was when DiMarzio came out with the 58s, they had it. Their idea was 58 and 58 and 61 in the bridge. Then they came out with the 67, and they said it's 58 in the neck, 61 in the middle, 67 in the bridge. At that time, I bought the 58 in the neck, and I had read about the Pro 54 being of the same. And when I read the specs on it, I was like, well, the 54 is going to make more sense because it's less compressed and it's a more vintage style. Now, why would something less compressed be less bright, since it's going to have a bigger spectrum? And the reason is because if you have something that has a lot of treble, a lot of bass and a lot of treble, you're going to hear that more as a balanced sound, because the bass is also it's going to be bassier than a pickup that compresses both and has less bass and less treble. Is going to sound more trebly, for the same reason how a high pass filter works. If you cut out the bass, it becomes super bright. If you bring that brightness down a little, it's still going to sound brighter than something that has full open. And that was the idea. I figured, well, if I'd rather have something open in the bridge, because then it's going to have some bottom, it's going to have bright, but it'll be balanced and it'll sound nicer in that position. And it ended up working that way. I don't know if you remember, if Paul Marr did my pickups in my black Strat. And after he did it, he was like, what are these? And I told him, and he went and sold, I think he had like Barden pickups that were like super expensive. And he sold those immediately and put in the same setup that I had.
Sure. No, moving to that 54 from the 61, it was the right move. All of a sudden, I don't have to like completely reconfigure my amp and my equalizer. Anyway, I don't have to redo it. I can go from a humbucker to a single coil guitar and not feel like, oh boy, this one's really a lot brighter or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for that recommendation. I pass that recommendation along to anybody who is sitting on a Strat where they think the bridge position is a little bit too bright. Try the Pro 54 from DiMarzio. The thing kills.
Yeah, and it's noiseless, which is awesome. I mean, you can't go wrong with noiseless. I think those area pickups, like you remember when we got all those custom shops in from Vendor, and we had the Ultimate guitar, whatever it was, but those pickups in that guitar was awesome. And I always thought that the area pickups was right in line with them. Yeah. And, maybe it sacrificed a little bit of but the minutia of the tonal difference versus the noiseless aspect of it, I don't even think there's a contest, because this is just for everybody. If you're playing single coil pickups and the noise is bothering you, look at those DiMarzio Area 58, 58, and 54 in the bridge. And if your concern is treble, you can look on your amplifier. There's a knob that's called treble, and you can turn that up. Seriously. I always get a kick out of people like that. Like, oh, I don't know, because I heard them and they're bright, even though they're noise. Yeah, you see that amplifier? That has an EQ in it. It can do whatever the hell
an equalizer, as I say.
Yeah, right. You can dial in any sound you want. To me, I always say get the best pickups that sound great, that are noiseless, and then dial in your sound. A lot of people, they dial in a sound and then they try something else and they're like, oh, these are noiseless, but it's a little darker. Yeah, there's your EQ. Throw the mids a little down, the treble up, and hey, look at that.
Yeah.
So
it's easy to solve problems when they're that small.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much.
Right.
But, this is the industry. This is where everybody says, these are my settings. I need to get an entirely new pedal board to match what I wanted to hear.
I watched our last video, and I had I had to edit it. But the thing is we talked about people taking the long road, and I made reference to people that go the long way about doing stuff and how we used to snicker about it. And I thought,
the long way home.
Yeah, and I thought, it has a lot to do with what we're talking about right now. If you recall, we used to have people that will come into the shop with their pedal board, and they're looking for like something like an ISP decimator.
Sure.
They're looking for and they want to get rid of, and then a gate. And they have all this noise, and they have all kinds of like just nonsense frequencies coming through. And our idea, we would say, well, what's causing this? Like, can we get to the root cause and maybe get rid of something, or change the wires, change the cabling? Something is going on here that's causing this noise. So let's not just stack 2 more pedals and a decimator and a gate, so we can stop that crazy effing hum.
Right.
As I talked about before, I'm not a huge J Rocket fan. I think the Dude's a cool pedal and the Animal's a good pedal. I have the Animal, but it is useless when using it with something like the Timmy for a boost. And so I'm playing at a gig and I have the Animal and I step on the Timmy, and all of a sudden now the thing sounds like an Animal. It's just all noise. I'm getting such a huge noise floor. And then I could go to like the Rock Box by Boiling Point, which has a similar tone, and I can step on the Timmy and it's dead silent. And I'm like, well, all right, so this is what's working. I wouldn't get then a decimator so I can still use the Animal. The Animal just is unusable in that context. And it's just so much better to get a quieter system going. Sure. Figure out, and that's kind of what we were talking about, you and I, when we were saying people are taking such long roads to do something that's simple. It's like,
well, yeah. Makeup and Band-Aids are cheaper than filing for divorce,
right,
from your husband who beats you. So, sometimes these guys, they make the bad decisions. They got the pedal board that keeps beating.
What the? By the way, John is not promoting spousal abuse.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm advocating that if you have a man out there who's beating up on you, do the right thing. Go to the root of the problem. Get rid of it. And I'm not talking about killing your man. I'm just saying get that divorce that you need.
Right.
Find yourself a new guy. You'll be fine. Too much. Too soon. Oh boy.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, that's basically, that's it. It's find the simplest road. Like some people could say, I don't know, the Animal though, even though it's noisy, there's something about it that I love. Yeah.
Hold on a second. I got a call coming in. It looks to be the FCC. Like we're
okay. Yeah, they're shutting this down. No, but people are like, soon. The Animal's got this tone that I love, and it's like, yeah, here's what I found out rather recently, because I own a lot of drives. I can get them all to sound pretty close to one another. And then one of the reasons why I like having the drives, people are like, why do you have, these all sound really similar? Well, at a step of a foot, I can get sound B that I can get out of it. I don't have to dial them close. So I keep them sounding separate, but if all of a sudden I had to go run out and do a gig with just one pedal, I can get the Animal to sound just like my Boiling Point, because there's nothing stackable, and as alone, it works great. So the Animal becomes workable if I'm going out and I just want to put one pedal or just one kind of kick drive with a Fender, like say I'm taking a Fender Blues Junior out, or what I have is I have a Vox Night Train, and I take it up with a 1x12 little cab. Everything's real light. And
you have the original one, the Series 1 that has like the metal chassis.
That's the one I have,
the chromed out metal chassis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the Series 2 I think was still metal, but it had the black.
Right. Mine's the Series 1.
Yeah. That was a good sounding amp.
It was great. It's great. You know, and again, with people, I want to say this, and as you said, the speaker matters. So I bought this cheap little custom, some guy was selling it on Craigslist for like $50. It was a custom speaker with a 1x12. And I would play it, and the sound of it was very mid. I didn't like it. I ended up putting a Celestion in there, and the thing sounds a British Celestion, a real one. And it just sounded great. And so it makes all the difference. Yeah, the speaker matters, but it's a great little amp. The breakup's not all great, but what if I use like the Animal? It's awesome. But again, if I have to take out a few pedals, the Animal's staying at home because, eventually I'll probably just throw it on Craigslist. But it's just not the best. The noise floor stinks, and it has the noise floor of a heavy fuzz with being a low gain drive, which is nuts. So I'm not sure what the hell he's doing in it, but again, that's the point. The point is don't sit there and try to add to the mess to figure out why you're getting noise. Get rid of the noise. Like strip everything down again and figure out, okay, this tuner is good. Okay, this compressor works. It's nice. It's clean. Everything's clean. I found out at this gig on Saturday that the Fat Boost that I keep always on, it's just always on, in the Angry Charlie, I have to shut it off. And then the Angry Charlie on Saturday was sounding fantastic again. And I'm like, this just does not like to be paired with other pedals. So I have to set the volume on it to the volume that I want when it's boosted. And then I have to roll back the volume on my guitar.
Right. Are there any internal switches on the Angry Charlie that would maybe change the buffer settings or anything that would allow it to behave better with other pedals?
I don't know what's in it. I haven't opened it, but I don't.
Might be worth looking. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was sounding great last night, and I realized I have to shut off the Fat Boost, which is something to me that I have to remind myself because I always have that pedal on. I love that. I use it as a line conditioner. So what happened was, you remember Mike, the guy that lived downstairs?
Yeah, of course.
So Mike one day is telling me how he just bought this Cornish Line Driver 3. And he paid like $600 and he was on like an 8-month waiting list. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What the hell is this thing? He's like, it's a buffer line conditioner. So I said, bring it upstairs. Let me try it out. So I put it in front of my board, and I had the buffer at the time from Wampler, which I still have. And I put I took the buffer out and I put his Line Driver 3 in front. And all of a sudden, my amp woke up to this tone of it like being plugged direct in, but I had all my effects available. And I was like, that thing is awesome. So then I went and I started reading up on it, and I basically found that it's really like a buffer with a line conditioner. So I tried a few pedals, and the Fat Boost 3 next to the buffer with the settings that I have, I basically dialed it in to sound just like the Cornish Line Driver, and that's why I use it. So I always keep them on. I don't even think of them as pedals. But then on Saturday, I shut it off just so I wanted to hear what the Charlie would do.
Sure.
And boom, it was like, that was it. It was like, it was great. It just does not like other pedals. Yeah. But,
weird. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's good.
So I heard that Joe Perry the other day at a Billy Joel concert.
Yeah.
They say it's Billy Joel. Let me emphasize that "l" at the end there.
Joel.
Yeah, he was not playing with Green Day. He was playing with Billy Joel. Yeah, something happened. I'm not sure what, but as they say, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, that's it's interesting what's going on. I don't know if he's using again or what's going on, or if it's just because I know he was getting ready to go on tour. It seems like all these guys that go and then get clean have a lot of health issues with their heart or whatever. It's too bad. Joe's awesome, and yeah, we wish him a healthy recovery.
For sure.
What's funny? Do you remember the conversation that I used to have? I always would ask people what coast they grew up on, because if they grew up on the West Coast, they're a bigger Elton John fan. And if they grew up in like the New England, New York area or the Northeast, they were a Billy Joel fan. Still pretty true today, I think.
That's funny. When I was working at Korg, there were a lot of people from Long Island, considering it was a Long Island-based, company. Yeah, everybody there was Billy Joel fans. Everybody on the keyboards, they all knew how to play all the Billy Joel songs. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something to it. I didn't know that there was a connection between California and Elton John.
Well, it's just because it's away from, that's where we were, and people were away from that whole it gets cold, your shoes ringing. That the whole New York and New England, they deal with the cold weather, and those songs are like, I don't know, there's something ingrained in us about those songs. They're like
That's funny.
They're those type of songs. The same way probably you're from Michigan. And do you remember Jay Giles growing up?
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, like,
Jay Giles was not as big as Elton John or Billy Joel on Detroit radio, even though he's a Detroit guy. I mean, Elton John and Billy Joel were in a different league.
Well, Jay Giles they weren't Detroit guys. They were Massachusetts guys. That
I didn't know that.
For some reason, that was just so big in Detroit. That was their market. They did Detroit and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Outside of Mass and Michigan, Jay Giles is known for, what's that song? Centerfold.
Right.
Well, like Musta Got Lost, House Party, all those songs, Sanctuary. We're very big in those two markets. And it's like, and then you go outside of LA and you mention Oingo Boingo, and people are like, huh? Who?
Funny.
It's like
they have such a cult following here. I still hear about it all the time. Oingo Boingo in LA, people covering Dead Man's Party all the time. They love it.
Well,
what's funny about?
Remember Chris Bartek at West LA?
No, I don't think so.
He worked in DJ. He worked for Speezy in the DJ department. His dad was the guitar player for Oingo Boingo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
What's funny about growing up in Detroit? Growing up in Detroit, our big, if you want to make the comparison, the Billy Joel, Elton John thing, our pianist / vocalist that was the biggest was Bob Seger.
Right.
Bob Seger was on the radio every day on every station. Be like 99.5 Young Country. Here's the new one from Bob Seger. It'd be like 97.1 Hip Hop Matters. Here's the new one from Bob Seger. It's like, what? Oh, dude, he was on everything.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I think it was proximity. That's the state line. We got a lot of John Mellencamp.
Yes. Do you know that? You don't listen. You don't hear Seger much in L.A. on the radio. It's
is there a better whiskey soaked voice out there? Dude's voice.
But do you notice you don't hear a lot of Seger?
Oh, totally.
Out there.
Totally.
And I found
he even tried to pander with Hollywood Nights.
When I came back to Boston and I turned the radio on and I'm like, oh yeah, Seger. I haven't heard this guy in 20 years because they never play. I mean, LA radio is funny. It's huge Tom Petty fanatics. I mean, Tom Petty and Sting are on the radio, whether it's Sting solo or the Police. That and Tom Petty is on the radio nonstop. They play like 3 Who songs, right? If Behind Blue Eyes is on every day on every channel in LA, but you never hear Seger. Now you also never hear George Thorogood, but that's a good thing. RL ran into him at Starbucks, I think, yesterday. He saw him at Starbucks. RL's like, yeah, he's right. He drinks alone. He was there by himself.
That's brilliant.
And then Sal says that he went into Starbucks because he was chilled to the bone.
Jeez.
Awful material.
Really bad. So there's this dude out here. You can get his podcast online, too, and I think everybody should. I don't know if you remember hearing this. Christian Hand Song Breakdowns. So this dude, Christian Hand, has a segment on one of the morning shows out here. I think he does them weekly or maybe bi-weekly. Anyway, this guy gets a hold of the archive tapes from these songs, and he breaks them down so that you can hear the ins and outs of everything that happens.
Nice.
So like they do Rosanna from Toto, and it's unbelievable because you get to hear all of the vocal harmonies with no instrumentation. You get to hear some of the stuff like the percussion that takes place, underneath the drums in the rhythm section, and you get to hear all of it like isolated, and then they slowly piece the rhythm section together, and then boom, everything together. And it's a really phenomenal. So I would look that up, find the podcast.
Just admit you like it because you get to isolate Bobby Kimball.
I love Bobby Kimball. He's the best.
You remember that time at Damn, and I was like, Kimball!
Totally. Kimball, he's like looking around. He's like, ah!
I'm like, get over here and meet Bingham. That was hilarious. He was like, what? Great. Get over here and meet Bingham. He loves you. He's like, all right.
That dude.
He was so great.
He was a really nice guy.
The nicest guy ever. And he's a great singer. I love all the early Toto stuff. And
oh yeah.
But I'll check that out. Did you see Mark Agnesi now has a new show on his own?
No.
He's so everyone that knows Mark runs Norman's Rare Guitars. Mark does the video Guitar of the Day, which is on Norman's Rare Guitars. Mark is a good buddy of ours. We all work together at West LA. And so Mark's now doing a show from his home where he's like interviewing people. It looks really interesting. And he showed off his collection. And I will say right here and right now, Mark, I want that 54 custom. He's got a 54 custom Gibson. It's a knockoff, it's a reissue. Yeah. But it's got that staple P90 that I love. And he swapped out the rare P90 with like, I think not a Lawler. Maybe it was a Lindy Fralin P90, whatever. I can't remember what he said he put in it, but that guitar looks awesome. Mark was always more of a Gibson guy, so it's funny he has the Strat and the Telly, but I remember him also always loving Gibsons. Great guy too.
He was touring with a National Country Act for a while.
Yes.
And the whole time he was doing it, what an outlier. He was using like 335s.
Yeah.
For those tours. So Mark was out there, no pick also. Yeah. Mark was just doing he plays with his fingers, kind of like a Richie Kotzen thing happening nowadays. But yeah, all Gibsons, which is
I think he plays with a pick, but I think he was also doing a lot of hybrid with his. Yeah, right. He was using,
I think he was telling me that on the tours that he was doing with that guy, that's all he was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you mean that? I thought you meant
no, but just like 335s, and it's just like, okay, well, it's kind of cool. Actually, you don't see that a lot. Everybody plays a Telly.
Right. Yeah. I got a buddy here that's a big 335 guy and 355 guy. They're good guitars. Yeah. They're fun to play. I'm not a big fan of the semi-hollow stuff.
Is it wrong that when I think of like a cherry red 335, all I want to play is like Tears for Fears?
That's wrong in its own, regardless of what guitar's in your hand. No, actually, I love Tears for Fears. I did on my channel the solo to Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I think their Sowing the Seeds of Love record is fantastic.
Yeah, they're good.
I love the Paul Weller reference. I always talk about it. There's a Paul Weller reference in the song Sowing the Seeds of Love when he says, kick out the style, bring back the jam.
Oh, that's great.
Which is, after the jam, Paul Weller had the style council, and I don't think that Roland Orzabal was a big fan.
Considering that I could be thinking about Chuck Berry or Larry Carlton or anybody else who's playing a 335, I'm sitting here like, I could play some Tears for Fears.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I have problems.
Yeah, it's funny when I think of a 335, I do think of Larry Carlton. Although, on talking about guitar tones and sounds, on his second album, Sleepwalk, I believe he's pictured on the cover holding a 335, but the album was a Valley Art Strat. And I read somewhere that he was like, reading the review, and it's like, oh, Mr. 335, that sound of his 335, and he's like, what? It's his. It was his Valley Art Strat that he was using.
All right.
Yeah, Larry's awesome. I'm a huge Larry Carlton fan.
We didn't get into we didn't get any further with the Joe Perry thing. I think it was important to ask the question to the audience: what's the similarity between Joe Perry and Bonnie Raitt and Alex Skolnick?
I have no idea. I didn't get it. What is this?
Everybody go in the comments.
Oh, they have the hair? The patch,
yeah, what is the deal with that?
I don't know.
It's like, I'm a famous guitar player. What am I gonna do? I put a streak in my hair.
Yeah,
look like I got
stripe.
Yeah, let me look like I got struck by lightning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody watched the movie Bride of Frankenstein, and they're like, "There's a look." Now, Bonnie Raitt, I heard Bonnie Raitt get divorced. I know she used to be married to Michael O'Keefe, and for those who don't know who Michael O'Keefe is, that would be Danny Noonan from Caddyshack.
Ah, there you go. I did not know that.
I don't know if they're still together. For some reason, I think they got divorced.
You know, there's probably a chance that she just couldn't make him love her.
Right. By the way, the George Michael version of that song is far superior. That makes me gay. Then, hello, Frisco. No, I love it. It's great.
I don't know if you can say that either. Hold on, the FCC's chiming in again. These days, you're not allowed to say anything these days. That Glock shirt that you're wearing, you'd better off wearing a cock shirt.
Oh yeah, wearing a Glock shirt today. That's all right.
I think
that's just in case if people are curious, I carry a 45. Thank you. It's a Glock 36, which I love, so I wear the Glock shirt. It's funny because
you just lost half your fan base right now.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is, a lot of people will walk up and say, "What does lock mean?" And I'm like, "Well, this is a G." Oh, what does lock mean with a G around it? Yeah, okay.
That's great.
And then the people that know what it says, they're obviously fans of Glocks, but I enjoy range. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all good.
Blowing holes in paper.
Yes, the best.
I do it. Yeah, I like it.
You know, in Massachusetts, they don't even allow you to shoot silhouettes. You can't shoot the paper that has like a person outline in it.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Yeah, God forbid you got actually accurate with it. You know, it's like,
yeah, right.
They don't want you to, whatever. It's just
so they don't have the posters with the zombies on them.
No.
That's a great one.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah. One of my favorites.
I've killed me plenty of zombies.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a fun thing to do. It's also, whatever. Yeah. I mean, they just take all the fun out of everything here anyways.
Yeah, well, but that's not what this show is about, ladies and gentlemen. No. We're here to talk to you about tone.
We're going to talk to you about some tone wood.
Oh,
God.
Speaking of tone, this weekend was dominated by tone. Tone brought to you by Helix by Line 6.
Helix is awesome. The Line 6 stuff's great.
So everybody knows that Shure makes a quality product. 58s, 57s, they're iconic. They make a killer lineup of I'm gonna advocate for a product right now.
Okay.
This is a product placement, even though we're not paid for it. It's just my endorsement. So have you seen the Shure GLX 16? It's like a pedal board wireless guitar system.
Oh.
So it's we'll try and put a picture up. Anyway. GLX 16, you can get it at Sweetwater, Amazon, any of the big places. All your local indies that carry Shure should have it. I think the street price is $3.99, and it's it mounts on your pedal board, and then you've got the belt pack that plugs into your guitar. So first of all, let me say the case that it comes in, the actual chassis of the unit is all metal. Mm-hmm. The transmitter is all metal, which is great. Nowadays everything's plastic. It works incredibly well.
Is it digital?
It is. It's on the 2.4 whatever frequency. Mm-hmm. And I hear people out there in forums. Before I bought it, I was reading that people are like, you got to be careful about how busy Wi-Fi is. You got to be careful, when there's a lot of people with cell phones around, it eats up that space and yada yada yada. Well, I've played it in every live show that I've played in the last year, and I've never had a single dropout, not once. Whether I'm, and I'm got my guitar on in the green room and House of Blues, and that's 100 feet off stage or whatever. And if I kick up my volume and just go chick like that, just to make sure that I'm plugged in, I'm working. It's working.
Yeah.
And I get out on stage, play the whole night, no problems. The other thing that's great about it, it comes with a lithium-ion battery cell inside of it that's rechargeable just like a cell phone. So you just take a USB cable, plug it in when you need to charge it, you're good. And it holds a charge that they claim is good for like 6 to 8 hours. Mm-hmm. And so far, I've played 2 shows in a row, Friday night and Saturday night, without recharging in between each. And it still shows me it having more than 80% battery life because there's a little meter on it, which is awesome. So yeah, for anybody that wants to go wireless at $399, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Solid product for sure, and from Shure.
And what are you using for a vocal mic? Do you bring your own vocal mics?
No, just 58s from the house.
Oh, okay.
I like other people's germs. It keeps my immune system healthy.
Well, I was just curious what they were using. I'm using I switch around. I have 2 mics that I really like. I have a Blue Encore 200, which takes phantom power. And that's a really nice mic that I like to use. And I'm also using now an SE mic, the company SE.
Yeah.
And
Stephanie still work for them?
She used to.
She's not anymore.
Oh. No. I think she went to Ultimate after that, and then she went somewhere else. I think she works for that speaker company. What's the one out of Finland? Genelec, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I knew that actually.
Yeah.
I've been spoken with her in a while, so.
Yeah. So, the last I spoke with her, she was working for Genelec, and I just assumed she still is. But the SE is a really nice mic. It just sounds great. It sounds clearer and cleaner, and I love that mic. So I'm using that.
Now, is that one Phantom as well?
No, okay. It's just a regular passive. It's a super cardioid as well, where the Blue is just a regular cardioid.
Okay, so for the people out there who are only familiar with like your run of the mill 58 or an Audix, what mic would you compare your Blue Encore to? What is it like a 58 killer, as they would say, or is it something different?
Yeah, it's basically like a 58. I think it's a little cleaner sounding. It's a little, maybe a hair brighter, which I like. It's clearer in my opinion. But it's relatively, they're interchangeable. When you get to the SE feels like it's more. Do you remember the Heil PR35 vocal mic?
I remember it, but I've never used one. So
fantastic. So that's like up in the upper echelon. This SE is like right below that. It's really good. The other mics are very good as well. Blue mic is really good. But like I said, it takes phantom power. But so I like being on stage. I think some of what I like about it is that it's a super cardioid, which is so like a cardioid mic is going to be taking sound from about this. It comes out like so.
Yep.
If you're near like a PA speaker or something, you might have a lot of feedback issues. The super cardioid is going to be more like this. And so your feedback issues are going to be gone. You have to sing more on it. And of course, the next step would be like hypercardioid, which is like almost a straight line to your mouth. And you can't really go like this around it so much. But I do like it on a loud stage using something that's a little tighter, like a super cardioid. But it works out great. It's a good mic. And I've really been enjoying the SE.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, and they're inexpensive. I think they were on sale for like between $80 and $99. But they're usually more expensive, so they're like blowing them out, which probably means they're coming out with a better version. But for that price, it does smoke a 58.
Sure.
Yeah, 58's a tanks. Let's not take away from what the 58 is. It is a great workhorse microphone.
90% of the venues you're going to go and play. And I'm talking to you folks out there who are dumb enough to still be listening. Kind enough to still be listening.
There you go.
90% of the venues you're going to play, if you don't bring your own mic, they're going to give you a 58.
Yeah.
Almost all the time. So, it's a sound that you're familiar with. It's a sound that works. And when Dave says it's a workhorse mic, there's no question about it. There's none more workhorse in the history of music than a 58 and a 57.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is
by the way,
the same mic.
It's the same mic with a different capsule placement, I think. I think that's what it is. Something about where the capsule resides, or how it's mounted or something like that. Or maybe I'm giving it too much credit.
Oh no,
Maybe
I
it's
just think
exactly
it's
the same.
I think it's the same mic, and they have a different top
Wins.
to it. One has the foam,
Yeah.
and the other one is unfoamed with just the capsule being.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I think that's what it was. Well, that's what I remember the guy from Shure telling me back in Speezy's office way
Yeah.
back.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I've heard that this
I mean,
thing. I've heard that this thing, the SM7 that I use, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but supposedly people say it's a really similar capsule. And there is something different to the way that this one's mounted. This one also has like high pass filters and like presence cuts and things on it, or low pass filter, if you will. But yeah, I don't think that they're terribly dissimilar from just a regular 58.
Right.
But if you go, I use other stuff too. I'm not just a Shure whore, as it were. I'm using stuff from that other company that can't be named because of my exclusive sponsorship. I'm kidding. No, but I've got like an E906 that I use on my guitar amp sometimes. The flat microphone, it looks kind of like a square. A lot of guys just hang it from a cord in front of their guitar amplifier, and because of the way the capsule's mounted, you can just lay it flat in front of a grill, and you don't have to be all that accurate with placement because like the capsule itself is a lot bigger. It's not like a little tiny thing. Anyways, long story short here, they're normally a $200 mic. They're like 50% off at Sweetwater right now.
Oh,
for
awesome.
for Black Friday. They're sold
aren't
out.
Those similar to like the 421 or the 441? Yeah, the 421 is the mic that I think was an industry standard for years for miking guitar amps. That would be a substitute for the 57, because when most people record, they record with a 57 and then they'll use either a condenser or a ribbon mic also to get the two. So when I worked with Ted, and actually when I worked with the guy over at Metropolitan, which I can't think of his name, we used a ribbon mic, mainly a 121 Royer, and we also used a Coles on one amp, a JMP Marshall, but we used the Royer 121 ribbon and the Sennheiser 421, and then in another situation we used a 57 and a Royer 121. So I'm interested in this mic you're showing here. Show us that mic that you got.
Sennheiser E906. It's the big brother to the 609. And this particular thing, you've got a little switch on it for, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah. Let the camera focus. Yeah, what's that switch for? Oh, is that
It's like high pass, low pass, and neutral switch, basically.
Yeah. How could you ever tell which way is the front?
Where it says front, you want that to be on the grill of your amplifier.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of guys just like because your plug is right here on the bottom. A lot of guys will just plug an XLR into it and hang it in front of your amplifier, in front of the speaker cone, and call it a day. Like we were talking earlier about grumpy sound guys that don't want to be there. Those guys are just like, this is the greatest solution ever because I can be lazy as heck. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
I don't have to aim a 57 the right way. I can just hang this right in front of your speaker cone and it sounds really good.
Oh, you're talking about live or recording or both?
Yeah, live. I mean, for recording, they sound great too. It's a good sounding microphone, but I'm seeing these more and more live when we go to bars and things like that to play. A lot of guys have these. So no, but I'm just saying for $99, dude, it's a killer. It's a good month to buy it. Typically these are going to be $189.
That in conjunct with a ribbon mic for recording guitar amps really is nice, because then you have the two tracks, really get the sound you want without really having an EQ or because you can just kind of do it through a blend and get a real natural sound.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah, for very general terms, for those who don't know much about microphones, your ribbon microphone is going to be a very nice, warm, dark sound, and your regular dynamic microphone like this or like your 57 is going to be the brighter, more, I don't want to use the term articulate or harsh, but it's definitely brighter. It's definitely I mean, it is all of those things. It's more articulate sounding. It's a bit more harsh sounding in a way. So you blend that with a 121 or something like that. Yeah, that's like a
well. I also think the
industry standard way to record.
You'll get that if you're pushing air with your amp. The 121 will pick that up really nice because the ribbon's real sensitive to that pushing of air.
Right.
And it'll transfer that into the into that thing. In fact, the end piece of music that I used to close out the last show, and I'll use it again here, is a dual rectifier with a 421 and it's a 421 with the Roya 121 on it, and it just has a real nice sound. And I think I recorded both sides. I can't remember.
Let us know if there's anything that you want us to review or talk about. We're open to do that. We have the capabilities.
Yes, we are open for suggestions. So for Guitar Talk, I'm Dave.
I'm John.
Have a great one.
Take it easy.
Very good.
You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and John.